At that, but also bring you this. The defence in South Africa will continue its cross-examination of a police forensic officer in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Just yesterday it emerged that the crime scene may have been cleaned right before police had arrived. 5 men stand accused of murdering the Bafana captain back in 2014. ENC's Silindelo Masikane is watching the trial and joins us now for an update. Slee, good morning to you. What's the very latest in the Senzo Meyiwa trial?
Well, yes, another interesting day in court yesterday, Dumelo, where the trial resumed against the 5 men accused of the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. We're still busy with cross-examination of Sergeant Thabo Mosia, that is the forensic investigator that was first on the scene to collect evidence. But before we could get to cross-examination, we had a special plea application by Advocate Malisa Latefo for accused 1 to 4. You'd remember last week, Friday, he had mentioned that he is demanding a trial within a trial, and he says that, of course, the state is in possession of confessions from accused 1 and 2, implicating all 5 in this murder, and he says that those confessions in particular were obtained after his clients were basically tortured, assaulted by police officers, and that during their first appearance in the Boksburg Magistrates Court, they did not have their rights read to them. So he says that this entire process has been flawed from the very beginning, saying that these confessions will be used by the state. However, saying that he wants to obviously contest the validity or admissibility of these confessions to court. However, the judge ruled that he could not hear this application further because, as it stands, the state has not actually introduced these confessions as evidence before the court, and so he then could not really entertain that particular application further. That is when then cross-examination resumed, with Advocate Mshololo once more digging deeper in terms of how the crime scene was handled, in terms of how evidence was collected on that particular night, flagging many of the issues with regards to the time frame in which it took for Mosia to get to the crime scene. Already she's poked a number of holes in terms of how evidence was collected, in terms of DNA, in terms of gunshot residue swabs not being taken, in terms of how Mosia collected evidence, relying mostly on Brigadier Ndlovu, who we know now is deceased, saying that in fact it doesn't seem as though he conducted much of an investigation at all. Where we left off yesterday, in fact, she had now introduced witness statements which were collected from several neighbors on that night, who then in their statements say that in fact they gained entry into the crime scene before police even arrived. In those statements they detail how there was water on the floor, how one of the neighbors actually proceeded to say that they want to clear the crime scene of many of the beer bottles and alcohol cans which were present before police could arrive and actually find them there. Let's just take a listen to Shololo introducing those witness statements.
Maggie Perry started to pick up the empties from the floor. I asked her why she was tidying up before the police could arrive at the scene. Maggie responded that she does not want police to see that the people who were inside the house were drinking. Paragraph 17, my lord, of the same statement says, the police arrived at the scene and they went in the house. I can't remember who opened the house for them. They came out and always saw the police ran, and I thought the police were always in the vicinity. Later, a contingency of police arrived and cordoned off the scene with tapes. Close quote. And my last paragraph, which I have read, it's paragraph 17 of statement 117, which says the police arrived at the scene and they went in the house. I can't remember who opened the house for them. They came out. I always saw the police ran and I thought the police were always in the vicinity. Later, a contingency of police arrived and cordoned off the scene with tapes. And you arrived at the crime scene after it had already been cordoned off. Am I correct?
That's correctly so.
So do you see that, according to this statement, you arrived when the crime scene had already been cleaned?
I understand.
All right, we leave it there. Silindelo Masikane, thank you so much for this update. We'll be sure, of course, to catch up with you throughout the day for any other developments at the Senzo Meyiwa trial.